Good morning. So I'm just going to talk for a few minutes because the important people to hear from are our young folks over here, Devin and Laura. I'll let Kelly tell you more about them as we get going, but I just wanted to give you a quick overview of the program for those that are not familiar with ACE. ACE stands for Architecture, Construction, and Engineering, and it's an after-school program for high school kids interested in those disciplines. Let's see how I do this. Okay. Our mission is to engage, excite, and enlighten high school students to pursue careers in architecture, engineering, and construction through mentoring to support their continued advancement in the industry. You can see ACE is pretty well covered around the country. We have 62 affiliates. We operate in about 200 cities and almost 40 states. And you can see we're concentrated on the coasts because of the nature of our start. But we're slowly working our way to most of the 50 states here. These are stats that most of you know, why ACE is important, why workforce development in general for these industries is important. Construction is the second largest industry in the country. Workforce development has emerged, and over the last several years it continues to be very important and a top priority for the leaders of this industry. You know the economic predictions we're hoping to see in the next 4 or 5 years, the turnaround where the workforce will come back around and we'll see this need arise. So that's why it's important to really keep focusing on this and not lose sight of the future and to keep training and recruiting young people. ACE serves about 8,000 students each year with a network of 5,000 volunteer mentors, and they're really the heart of the program. They're what makes this happen on a daily basis at the local level. About 2/3 of our students are minority students, and about 1/3 are young women, which is, look around the room and it's not really very reflective of the current workforce, and that's something that ACE has sort of organically just sort of come into, where we're attracting people from different sectors and different backgrounds who normally would not have been exposed to these industries. We've given over $12 million in scholarships since our inception in the early 90s, and we've calculated that per year our mentors and sponsoring firms donate about $10 million worth of in-kind pro bono labor, which is fantastic. 92% of ACE graduates do go into some form of post-secondary education, whether it's a 4-year college university program. A lot of our students go into apprenticeship and craft training programs, and many of our students don't end up in the industry, but do still end up in the college university track and still get a lot out of the program. I'll skip this for now. Just a quick overview of how our program works. It's a group mentoring program. So we have teams of mentors that meet with teams of students. Typically it's 3 to 5 mentors who are industry professionals, hopefully from a professionally diverse sort of group. So we have a construction manager, an architect, an engineer on a mentoring team with about 15 or 20 students. Each team meets about 15 times for 2-hour sessions after school, so it's on the personal time of the volunteer mentors and as well as the students. And they'll select a project to do. Some mentors will select a project for the students. Others will let the students pick a common what is an ideal high school, and the students basically will take the project from design and concept phase, learn how to work with owners, learn how to work with subcontractors, learn the office environment, do job site tours and visits, and basically take the construction project from cradle to grave until they would actually build it. So they learn the entire process, all the bits and pieces and the moving parts that go into the building process from all the different players as well. And it culminates typically in an end of the year presentation, which is often presented like a bid scenario, so they get that sort of real world pressure experience and also learn public speaking and teamwork, and they get a lot more out of it than just learning sort of technical aspects of the industry. That's the presentation night. We also have a national competition every year held in DC in conjunction with the Construction Industry Roundtable, which is another big supporter of ACE at the national level. So we have 3 teams from around the country that we fly into DC who present their projects to a panel of judges who are typically presidents and CEOs of the major leaders in the industry, like a lot of folks in this room. Scholarships are given at the local level, and we also collaborate with about 30 different institutions who set aside funds only for ACE kids. So ACE kids can apply for funds that are set aside only for kids who have been through our program that pursue a degree track in architecture, construction, engineering, or a related degree track. Just a little fun tidbit. Many of you may have seen on the Today Show, October of 11, we were featured on a Jane Pauley segment called Your Life Calling. Our founder, Charlie Thornton, was the main feature, and it was really about his life, but he took the opportunity to really make pretty much the entire program about ACE. So we had ACE students from both coasts that were featured on the Today Show on national television. So that was an exciting thing for us. And Jane Pauley, we're hoping we're sort of trying to work at that so that she emerges as our eventual sort of national spokesperson. She's very engaged with us. Also last year in December, we were awarded the Presidential Award for Excellence in Science, Engineering, and Mathematics Mentoring. It's the highest award for mentoring that's given in the United States. It's given directly by the president, as you'll see here with President Obama and our founder, Charlie Thornton. So that was a very exciting thing for us for a couple of reasons. One, it put us on the stage as a STEM organization, where we've always been STEM. We're not your typical STEM organization, but we have always focused in the certainly the engineering and mathematics fields. And now we've really been put on the national stage of STEM, so we're attracting a lot of other groups that migrate to just to that acronym. So that's been a good thing for us. And the other thing that came with this is a $25,000 prize. And the prize was given in honor of our mentors. It's not really a recognition of our founder or our leaders. It's really a recognition of the work that our mentors have done. With this $25,000, we decided to use it to recognize mentors around the country. So we selected 5 what we call exemplary mentors out of our 5,000 mentors around the country. So it's quite an honor. And with that money, the $5,000 will go to a local scholarship that will be named in that mentor's name. Here's a list of our mentors here that received that designation this year in May at the Construction Industry Roundtable Conference, which leads me to our next speaker, who I will turn it over to, Kelly Cantley, who you've heard some information about, but Kelly was recognized as one of our exemplary mentors this year, which is a great honor for ACE and a good opportunity for ACE of Baltimore here to have some extra scholarship money for their students. So thank you so much, CII, for having us here. You guys are always great supporters of ACE, and thank you, Wayne, for your service on behalf of CII on ACE's national board. So we're happy to be here, and now we'll get on to the real good parts here.
I thought it was interesting that John and I were introduced as the young presenters, but in reality, that will be Laura and Devin, who I'll introduce shortly. And they'll be the more compelling part of this entire segment. John did say that our objective is to illustrate to young men and women how much value the construction industry has for their career. And I think the question is, how do we do that? And we seek out corporations and organizations that have professionals that are motivated, that enjoy being role models, and are enthusiastic about what they do. It's a twofold benefit that I think is important. Not only are we helping the future, we're helping the youth and the communities, we're also helping our professionals that are out there working. This whole organization is designed to help our professionals, the mentors, learn to teach. So in the sessions that John talked about, I only have 3 rules that I typically tell them. The first is to do not do death by PowerPoint. The second is no homework. And the third is to have fun. If we're demonstrating that we enjoy what we do, then obviously the students will follow. The homework piece always intrigues me because after presentation night this past year, one of the students' parents approached me just raving about, of all the after-school activities, she thought ACE mentoring was one of the most compelling. She goes, but there was one problem. Instead of studying for his AP exams, he enjoyed working on his ACE mentoring project more so. So I was secretly a little happy about that, but we understand the importance and the conflict there. We've been asked to address the issue of diversity and how ACE mentoring program helps promote this in our workplace. We somewhat naturally do it, but if I had to put it into a 3-pronged approach, it would be this. We first look to organizations and to mentors that have diverse backgrounds, that come with different fresh ideas and different cultures. Secondly, we target schools, whether that be public, inner city, but also private, but we have a very strong positive mix of those types of schools. And then lastly, we discuss this with the counselors in the schools, and we state what our goal is to make sure that we are providing the opportunity to everyone. You know, I'm so excited to have Lauren and Devin here today. They have been both graduates of the ACE mentoring program, and I can't wait to kind of hear what they have to say. We've talked briefly. One's come from Boston, the other's working in Alexandria, so they're working right now while they're in school. But Laura, I'll first introduce, and will come up and share a little bit about how ACE has impacted her. She participated in ACE mentoring for 3 years and was also a recipient of one of our scholarships. Hord Copeland Mock is her current employer and has been her summer intern host for 5 summers, and she met them through the ACE program. She's just a lovely individual, and I'm excited for her to come up here and share with you how ACE has impacted her decision to pursue a career in actually architecture. She's currently studying at Columbia University. Laura?
Thanks, Kelly. I was one of those kids who chose her career at age 7. From then on, I was determined to become an architect. Of course, my idea of architecture then is drastically different than what it is now, but I continue to become more and more fascinated with the profession and the construction industry as a whole as I learn what the field is really like. A big piece of my education has come from the ACE mentorship program. As a high schooler, I was determined to find exposure to architecture. During my sophomore year of high school, on one of my many long web searches to find an architecture club, I finally came across ACE on the AIA website. I was thrilled to have found it, and it exceeded every one of my expectations. Though my school didn't have a group, luckily the mentors of the Baltimore Polytechnic School allowed me to join theirs. The ACE mentorship program provided me with real insight into the building profession was really like. Though the architect mentor was only able to attend a few meetings my first year, it was still a great experience because the engineers and contractors were able to teach me about their professions as well as the architect's role in the building process. That first year gave me an experience that most architects never get. I was able to see firsthand what it takes to create a building beyond the role of just the architect. Each year after that, we gained more architect mentors. As I learned more and more from them, I always kept in mind what it took from the engineers and contractors to make the project really happen. Looking back on this, I realized the importance of collaboration between the different consultants working on the building project. Not only does ACE teach about the field, it also provides great opportunities and connections. At the end of my sophomore year of school, I decided I wanted an internship at an architecture firm. ACE had given me the vital fundamentals of the building industry, but I was still searching for that experience that would put me in the architect's shoes. After many pointless searches to find an architecture firm advertising a high school internship, finally I put 2 and 2 together and realized I had connections. ACE. I contacted the former vice president of ACE Baltimore, then Tim Barnhill, who I found out was a principal at a large architecture firm in Baltimore, Hord Copeland Mock. Luckily, they were accepting high school interns, albeit few, but after an interview, I was offered my first internship. I firmly believe the insight I gained from ACE won me the spot at Hord Copeland Mock. This is now my 4th summer interning with the firm, a valuable and rare opportunity I could not have imagined achieving without ACE. I am now majoring in architecture at Columbia University, and ACE has given me insight that several of my architecture peers won't have until they get a job at an architecture firm. Now in school, we are just exploring the crazy world of design, but I know from ACE how a real building is developed and created by the multiple fields in the building industry. The collaboration and coordination between the different building professions creates amazing projects, and this is what inspires me to continue in architecture. Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce Devin Cornish. He also completed our ACE mentoring program. Local school here in Baltimore was Baltimore Polytech. That's right. He was a recipient of our ACE National Scholarship, and the fun story I have about Devin was I remember that evening when he received the scholarship, and he had found out recently that he received a full ride to MIT. And he approached us and asked if there's any way that he could give the scholarship to someone else. So I thought that was very compelling, and it was impressive at his just generosity, and he continues to do that through other mentoring programs that he does on his own. Real Men Read, where he helps middle schoolers learn to read. So I'd like to ask Devin to join us and share a little bit about what mentoring means to you.
Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me? All right, so I really want to talk about what my experience has been with mentorship, and particularly with what it has done in the theme of diversity. So, some background on myself. I am born and raised in Baltimore City, in inner city Baltimore, and from a very young age, I was very interested in the STEM fields, in particular, construction and engineering. But as I progressed through my education, and particularly when I received my entrance into high school, I realized that I had no sort of exposure to the engineering field. And so I kind of want to tell you a story about what it means to familiarize yourself with construction and how we leverage that with diversity. And so one of the things about my participation in ACE was that it was my first experience where I met very real practicing engineers. And so for me, it was the first time I had been to an engineering company that I learned the difference between what an architect does, what an engineer does, and the different jobs that exist in engineering. And so currently I study mechanical engineering, and had it not been for my experience in the ACE mentorship, I would have never made that decision. One of the things that I kind of took for granted when I participated in ACE was the diversity of my ACE team. The school that I attended was 85% African American, and the city of Baltimore is roughly 70% African American. And so the team that I was on was actually a reflection of the same demographics that I was familiar with. And so for me, it was an extremely comfortable environment where I felt that not only did my input get value, but I was comfortable with the individuals that I was speaking with, so that I knew that I could very much so cater to the group. And the nice thing about the mentorship aspect of ACE is that my mentors, who were very experienced engineers and also very good leaders, they were able to facilitate the conversations amongst the different individuals who were mentees. And so that allowed us to really have very structured conversations, and each role that was given to an ACE mentee was a unique role, and it was meaningful. And so as we met every other week with our other ACE counterparts, we could see the very true value that we were given on an individual basis. One of the other things that I wanted to focus on is that by being in that diverse setting, I was able to really learn that in a diverse organization, you can leverage the different backgrounds and experiences from the people who are working with you. Everyone has a different collection of thoughts that really impact how they approach problem solving and how they interact with each other. And as the keynote mentioned, we're working in an environment where inclusion is very big, and also the way that we think has to be dynamic. And I just think that it's a wonderful opportunity where we have these workforce environments where everyone can be confident, because you get into another thing that the keynote mentioned, which is untapped talent. My experience in ACE was really what I considered me being the untapped talent. I think that the individuals who were on my ACE team, otherwise, who were extremely talented, might have gone to other industries, but because ACE saw the value and the potential that they had within themselves, they were really able to capitalize on those talents and motivate them for fields in fields of architecture, construction, and engineering. I think that in particular, construction can be a very intimidating field, only because it is very dynamic and it's also on a very large scale. And all of you here are very versed in what it means to be in the construction industry. And I can say the thing that really inspires me the most about construction is that it impacts the lives of everyone. You all quite literally shape the world around you. And so, just in closing, I kind of think to myself that how great would it be if the people making the impact and shaping the world around them kind of reflected the diversity of the world they were shaping. That's it. Thank you.
A little inside secret, we thought we were just doing a panel discussion with like 20, 30 people, so they found out 2 days ago that it was in front of 600, so I thought they did pretty good. I want to thank everyone for allowing this opportunity to share our stories. This is a very important issue, very important organization, and we're very proud of it. So the both, I guess all four of us will be out at the lounge, so would welcome anyone to come by to say hello, or if you have any more questions, be happy to address those. And thank you once again.